guys, welcome back to another episode of Immature Adults. I'm your host, Brianna.
And I'm your host, Kiera.
And we're here for another week's episode. So this week we wanted to tackle something that we thought was really important, something that we know a lot of our listeners can relate to, and that is being Black in corporate America. And so Kiera and I kind of wanted to expand a little bit and not only just give you guys our viewpoints, but also include some panelists for today's episode. So you guys will meet them in a second. But we hope that you guys really take what's being said in the conversation, that you're able to learn from it and that you're able to also provide your own feedback and let us know some of the things. If you went through something similar that was mentioned, or you agree or disagree, let us know in the comment below, because we love to hear from you.
So let's get into
it.
Don't think of the company as a person. Like, I think a lot of times, I know me myself have shown a lot of loyalty to a company, treating it more so as a person, thinking that that's going to be reciprocated. And that's never the case. Not that certain individuals in a company don't care about you as a person, but at the end of the day, those people are acting in the company's best interests and not yours. My lesson is always act in your own best interests.
I think mine is if you don't have anyone advocating for you, your career is not going to go very far. And you can be the hardest worker in the room. You could be the smartest worker in the room. If you don't have an advocate that is of some stature pulling for you, it's going to make it very, very difficult for you to progress in corporate America.
I think what Dre said, something I found out, don't take it personal. I had to find out the hard way. I think we probably all did, but you don't take it personal. That companies are in it to make money. That's it. Make money. Have to keep operating. Most of us, it's to a fault, come in, that job is supposed to take care of me and pay all my bills. No, that company is to reinvest in their business and return to the shareholders. After I deployed that mindset, everything else, anything you do different is more of a surprise to me. You do something good, like, oh, okay, they did that. There's no loyalty. And I found myself, in the world of Sean Carter, you gotta learn how to move in a room full of vultures. Everybody ain't for you. Like Adriana said, hopefully you can get that advocate, but don't depend on them.
Honestly, I'm at a point now, I know you guys are younger, so you look at things differently. I am at a point now where I don't really care about the labels. If you want to give something a label, give my work a label. I want my work to speak for me. And my work has actually been my saving grace, because I'm very outspoken and that's not welcomed. And if it wasn't for my work, it's likely I wouldn't be there.
Depending on what you want to do with your career, yeah, you got to change the way you communicate. I was fortunate enough to have a job where I was going out to customers a lot. And so I kind of developed a way of communicating that was very neutral, I guess. Even when you're wanting to give negative type of feedback or response, it comes across as neutral. And so you got to do that all the time. Anytime you talk to anybody, a high-ranking person in the company told me this: anytime that you are talking to someone, presenting to someone in a meeting, you are on stage. Okay, you are on stage. And who's on stage? actors, performers. So in a sense, that's what you're doing. So you have to make a conscious decision at some point. Do you want to do that? Do you want to play that game, or don't you?
You have to outside of work us, and then you got the 8 to 5. Of course, if you know each other outside of work, it's two totally different personas that you're getting. Because when you're at work, you're trying to be professional, trying to dot all the I's, cross all the T's, say everything exactly right, so you're not offending the person, but that you're saying what you mean. So yeah, it's definitely a very thin line. Sometimes people say things to you and it's like, okay, I can't let that one pass, I gotta say something. And you have to do that sometimes. I totally agree with it. But what I've learned is, in some instances, no response is the best response. Sometimes people come with certain things and they're looking for a reaction. And sometimes in the instance when you don't give it to them, it completely throws them to the left. And then now they've got to try to figure out how to come back. And you hadn't said anything, so you still in the good.
Now, y'all know I'm from New York, so I'm a fast talker by nature sometimes. And I wouldn't have said this maybe 7, 8 years ago. I don't pronunciate well. Not all the words. I get hung up still to this day. It's that fast talking side of me. I have to slow myself down. And so I have true story battles that throughout my years. There's been at least twice I'm aware of that role managerial job come open. And there's no undeniable of how Josh works, his ethic, the results he has brought to us. The value created, this savings, his manufacturing knowledge. We just don't have that spitting image of communication that what we need from this person. And, I got in my feelings. Got in my feelings. So I took that. I didn't understand it. I'm like, no, I don't pronunciate. And so really, I started reading the dictionary, trying to slow myself down, reading words. But when I found out what was my purpose of speaking, mentoring, and people giving me feedback, like, you can make content into a life-changing story. And so now I'm able to embrace what I just told you. 7 years, I wouldn't be able to say that. I don't pronounce it right. I just want to add them couple true stories that I have dealt with of making sure how you communicate, pronunciate words in this world of corporate America.
I don't do a good job with that, because I tend to, when people do that, I tend to distance myself. And that's probably not the best. In fact, I know that's not the best way to have to deal with those type of things. But I do find myself distancing myself from those people, because I'm like, how could you? And why do you think that's okay? But to their defense, I think it is because we're in an industry where there is not a lot of people that look like us on a whole. And I feel like they feel that there are only so many positions available for people that look like us. So I think they go into preservation mode. They're trying to preserve their current environment and make sure that they're always included in that environment. And sometimes they get a little intimidated, thinking somebody may come along and knock them off. And so, I mean, it frustrates me, and I do get a little upset about it. But then, if you really think about it, I can kind of understand why they do what they do. But either way it goes, it's still sad.
I guess for me, when I look at it, when I kind of look at, where we are and the people in leadership, it's almost like sometimes you have people of color in the position, but they're just in the position for namesake. If they're really just a figurehead, they're in the role, but they really don't have any power. It comes across to us that they got power because maybe they're sitting in the office, or we see the position, we see the title, all of that, but it's just so much going on in the background. It just makes you really wonder and second guess a lot of times. Well, I wonder, did they say something? And if they did, what did they say? And then, to Adriana's point, sometimes it's kind of like, may have this mentality of, well, I got here, and maybe they feel like they didn't have anybody pulling them up by the bootstraps, if you will. So they feel like, well, I got here on my own, so you got to get here on your own. As much as I want to just put all of it in one bucket and say, just give it one solid answer, it's just hard because there's so many. I know with us, there's so many layers. It's so political.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, I agree. That's a hard one because you never know, like, the past experiences of that particular individual as to why they don't do certain things or hire certain people or help certain people. I guess what we can do though is so my philosophy is this, and I've had a manager that I didn't see eye to eye with, as far as how they managed. But this particular person was Black. And so whether or not I saw eye to eye or not, I told them I'm gonna do whatever I can to make you successful. If they're successful, they can move up. And then the powers that be would be more comfortable hiring another person that looks like that person. And then they could move up. It may be you or maybe me. So that's kind of how I look at it.
I read Forbes that when we're not just talking about people at our level, we're talking all the way up the ladder, corporate level, executive level. But there's only like 3.2% of Black people, a diverse color besides white, who's in executive leadership. Executive leadership, that's at the top level. So this ain't just like, there they go again, talking, the little, down level, mid-managers, mid-level workers at work. No, we talking this going all the way up. So there is an issue that needs help and needs to be shed light on. The Wells Fargo CEO said, like, last year, reason why we don't have any diverse or African American because of lack of talent pool in the Black community. You gonna sit there and tell me a nationwide talent pool, if you looking at it, not just at a certain area, that there is no candidates. Here's one thing I think when people, leadership, whether they Black or whatever, brown, green, Hispanic, whatever, get at a level where their mindset is totally, they had to work hard to get there. And so they don't want to mess it up. This is what, from my observation. And they have the company interest, which they supposed to, on their mind. And so for me, if I was in that shit, I'm like Frederick Douglass. I'm throwing that little sign out there. Hey, I'm talking to all so I'm a Black man, so I'm gonna be talking to all my Black people on the side. Hey, something to come open. Bye. I want you to try to run. I'm open the door. I'm Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman. Come on in. I'm trying to get all y'all looking out. But everyone is not like that, whether they white, a Black, a Hispanic, Puerto Rican, whatever you are. It's not only because I'm totally focused now on the company interest. What I used to be looking out for people in general, because that's what it's about, serving other people. You forget that, and it's totally locked in on the company interest, and so that's why that door gets shut. And it's more of a systematic piece, and not probably consciously trying to. Well, some of them are. But most of them, I think, is systematic because they tied up with the company.
I would just say, always do your best work. Think of it as a job. Like I said, it's just a job. It's serving a purpose for you. It is a two-way street. You are providing a service. They are paying you, but you are providing a service with your time and your knowledge and your skill set. Just remember that. Know your value.
I would say, don't scoot your confidence and your talents under the rug just to make others feel okay. Be yourself. Shine as much as you can. And don't dumb yourself down to make others feel better.
I guess what I would add to it is, come in and put your best foot forward, but know that, if the opportunity opened itself and presented itself and you got it, then know that you are enough. You got everything that you need in order to fulfill the role. And even the things that you don't have, you know, a lot of times we say, we look at those as weaknesses, but they're really not. It's really opportunities for where you can grow. Because, you know, for as much as we have, nobody has everything. Then I guess on the other side of that is, you know, when you come in and you're doing all those things, being loyal, putting your best foot forward, and it feels like it's not working, it's okay to remove yourself from it and go to something else, because every corporate job's not for everybody.
Adriana said it, you know, that was, don't conform yourself, don't dumb yourself down to someone. Dre said value. Don't take it personal is my last one. What I mean by that, we all human. So some things gonna hit anyway, daily, every day, month to month. And, you know, we're human, so there's nothing wrong with that. What I mean by that it wrecks your whole character, that it wrecks your whole lifestyle outside a job that you get, you know, paid for. That's what I mean, don't take it personal. There's nothing wrong with, you know, getting upset, you know, disappointed things. Don't let it wreck your whole life, your family, because a job made cuts. You know, they there to make money, and that's what I mean. Don't take it personal.
The biggest advice that I would give people is to find your people. I remember like being 3 months in and going into the room where Josh was at and closing the door and having a whole I said every word in the book. And I never felt like
conversations.
I never felt like I couldn't come and say those things to him. I never felt like, you know, this is gonna come back and bite me. And that's not always the case. You have people out there that you can't trust. But spend the first couple of months finding your people, really talking to people and figuring out who you can talk to, who you can actually find support in, because a lot of people, you can have a spouse, you can have friends, but nobody's gonna understand your work environment the way that the people who work there do.
I would say take care of your mental health. I think that's probably one of the biggest things I learned, because especially if you're coming into a corporate space for the first time, whether, like you said, from manufacturing or from school or wherever, it's an adjustment. And sometimes it can be a lot, and you really do need to have those things to keep you grounded and to keep you focused on your end goal. Because I mean, there were days where I just felt like I just like you said, I just can't even get out of bed. Like, and I had to make sure that I did something that kept me going and kept me pushing. I'm not saying that's going to be everybody's experience, because, you know, we all work in different places, but at the end of the day, keeping your mental health in the forefront is going to be what keeps you going and keeps you staying. So we thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of the Immature Adults Podcast. We want to thank our panelists for joining us today. We really, really, really appreciate you guys, all the information and experiences and feedback you gave. We thought this was a really good and important and necessary topic, as a lot of our listeners are young professionals working in corporate spaces. So we hope you guys learned something. We hope, you know, you took something away from this experience or this conversation. So thanks you guys for listening.
Music.